Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I'm Philip Howard, Director of the Oxford Internet Institute, and it's a pleasure to welcome you here to the Institute's Trinity Term London Lecture. The Oxford Lectures give us an opportunity to bring together world-leading expertise from our department to London with a public and working journalists and policymakers interested in some of the most pressing social problems, technology issues we have today. We're here tonight in the aptly named Turing Lecture Theatre during London Tech Week, and it's great to see so many familiar faces. Welcome. It's great to have everybody here, and I have a couple of quick requests first. First, of course, feel free to tweet. Our handle, OII Oxford, is up there. Professor Floridi's handle is there as well. Please feel free to tweet, but turn your mobile phones to silent, of course, during the talk itself. Secondly, we have no planned fire alarms, so if there is one, it probably is a serious one and we'll need to evacuate the building. Please use the fire exits positioned at the front of the room and then follow the running person symbols. We'll also have stewards to help direct you. It's also important for me to thank the Mercy Foundation for making tonight's event possible. On to the business of introducing my colleague. I'm delighted to welcome Professor Luciano Floridi, Professor of Philosophy and Ethics of Information and Director of the Digital Ethics Lab. There's many stories I could tell about Luciano. My favorite one that is both a story of praise is that most of my interaction with him actually comes when the world's other great universities call or email and ask to know what we're teaching on computing and ethics. These days, it's very difficult to manage a program in computer science without some kind of ethics program, and people turn to Luciano to find out what he's teaching now. And I send his syllabi around the world. He's been doing this work for well over a decade, and if there's anyone who's come close to founding a field in our department, it's certainly Luciano Floridi and the field of information ethics. The second thing I'd like to say is to offer congratulations. Today, Luciano received the COGEX 2019 Award for Outstanding Achievement in the field of AI ethics. Congratulations, Luciano. Yeah, another moment on the stage. The title of Luciano's lecture tonight is AI in Society, Opportunities and Risk. Opportunities and risks. Artificial intelligence is a very exciting development. Many of us have high hopes for it, and also a sense of emotional distance and an eagerness to be ready for critique. I think we've already caught some of the mistakes that AI can make in many different domains of our life, including our public life. Luciano will guide you through the opportunities and risks generated by our increasing successes in applying machine learning to shaping our everyday lives. There'll be a Q&A towards the end, and we'll have microphones to pass around. The lecture is being recorded, so it's important that we also get the questions recorded at the end of the session. Luciano, over to you.
Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you really very much, because it is a great pleasure to come back here. I was here for a keynote some time ago, and it's a lovely place. So thank you for organizing this, for the hospitality, for supporting this. One bit of explanation, just in case you felt too sorry. It's going to disappear in 2 weeks. It's what happens if you play squash with your mates in college and you make the wrong move. So as they say, don't try that at home, you know. Yeah. Well, I did try that in college. It's a good reminder about how there's still a difference between digital and analog. If you have an analog body, you can't replace it so quickly. You had to wait months for that to get fixed. If only you were as fixable as the hardware on my computer, that would not take so much time. So the topic here is, shall we say, a little bit fashionable. It has been fashionable for a little while. It has been, shall we say, boringly academic for more than half a century. I'll show you many more pictures in a moment, but just remember, as we get into the real swing of the topic, that actually the first important papers on the ethics of AI were published in 1960 in Science, and it was a debate between Wiener and Samuel. Wiener, the father of cybernetics, Samuel, the father of machine learning. One highlighting some of the risks in automation and cybernetics, what we call today AI. More on this in a moment. The other one say, well, look, there's machine learning. I think we can have a lot of advantages here too. Don't be so pessimistic. Well, as you know, philosophers like the to and pro on the one hand, on the other hand. But it's great that we have finally, as it were, caught up with that debate in our society. So what I'm going to show you here is essentially a bit of a tiny bit of background, not because I think you don't know, but so that we are on the same page, so to speak. And then what I know is slightly unorthodox, forgive me for that, presentation of AI as a divorce, not as a marriage. I'll tell you more in a moment, but I will introduce AI as a divorce between the ability to perform a task successfully in view of a goal, shall we say play chess, just to be trivial, and any need to be intelligent in doing so. Replace that with parking a car, landing an aircraft, delivering something to your house. You don't have to be intelligent to do that if you are a piece of AI. That's why it works. If you had to wait to be intelligent, it wouldn't work. My iPhone there, turned off properly, would not play better chess than anyone else in this room if we had to wait for their iPhone to be as intelligent as a rat. It is because it isn't, and we gave up on trying to make it intelligent as a rat that it beats anyone in this room. I know it's unorthodox, and I know it's also the place where this may go down in a little bit controversial, but more on this in a moment, and I hope it will also be a little bit entertaining. Then the real stuff, risk and opportunities. And I put them together in the same line because they're really two sides of the same coin sometimes. And finally, a conclusion. So, by the way, the map will come back, so in case you get lost, you will know where we are in a little while. So the background first. As I said, it's getting all over the place. Everybody talks about it. Gartner picks digital ethics and privacy as strategic trend for 2019. Remember, 1960, science. Yeah, welcome. The excitement of the academic finally seeing people not joining you half a century later. Yes, it is a crucial point today, and even politicians, well, not every politician, and I know we're recording, so I'll be careful not to mention any politician, but not every politician today will have this in mind, or will even understand the topic at all. It's a big deal. It's a lot of money out there. This is just MIT, and it was news some time ago. And yes, if you see any traces of green saliva on their slide, that's the professor looking at $1 billion for the study of AI ethics. That's what our colleagues in America have as a budget, just to play with things. So congratulations to MIT. But that's what we're talking about here. Popular, pressure, important, and financially very, very relevant. So why so much emphasis? Why not 1960 until now? Well, this is just one of the many. I could have shown you a gazillion of other graphs. Just choose one, which was, I thought, beautiful. And also old. I don't want to do any science fiction. I want to talk about things that have already happened. That's 2017. If you are too far away, down here, 2017. And this is 95% of accuracy of any machine speech recognition. We passed that some time ago. Today, machine recognize human speech as well as, or often better than, anyone in this room. So I still remember the days, it shows my age, when, I remember I'm Italian, so I learned the hard way this language. And there was a cinema downtown, and it was in this impossible place, George Street. And unless you went George Street, the telephone wouldn't get it. You had no ticket, no matter what. And so I trained and finally said, Kia, that's my wife, can you please get the ticket? This is George Street, it's not quite working. So now that I finally learned, George Street is useless because he will understand my Italian. George Street, George Street, ticket, go, done. That's how good had they become. No? They even understand my George Street. But of course, this is something that is percolating through the house. That's another example, again, among many millions. This is the number of people who have been interacting with anything, Cortana, Siri, Alexa, Google now, you name it. And again, it's a bit of a projection 2021, but we have already passed the billion in 2018. That's a lot of people, and not for today, but just remember, this is run by companies that run on advertisement. Advertisement through oral, vocal interaction is not visual advertisement. It's diachronic, it's not synchronic. There's a revolution. How they're going to monetize this, it's anybody's guess, but they will. So what exactly are we talking about? This is just two examples, but what is this AI really? So this is the most beautiful map I could find so far, and many thanks to the colleague, Korea 2019, for the permission to reproduce it. You don't have to be able to read it. In fact, I would be astonished if you could, even not at the front line. But down here, you have the types: logic-based, knowledge-based, probabilistic methods, machine learning, embodied intelligence, search and optimization. And up here is what they do: perception, recognizing, knowledge, etc., planning, and so on. And these are all the different kinds of AI. So whenever, even we academics, we take shortcuts. Oh, it's AI anyway. Oh no, AI is a big family. There are uncles and grandmothers and cousins. Be careful, because not everything is the same thing. Normally, more on this in a moment, when you talk about AI, not in this building, and no one listening, of course, but the others, they imagine Star Wars, like someone moving, coming, say, greeting. The robot, that's the immediate connection between AI and robotics. Not the case. Most of AI, in fact, massively most of AI is not embodied. Remember, this is where we're talking about embodiment, but here is the real revolution. That's what made a difference in the past few years. It's called deep learning. Generative adversarial networks, neural networks. And forgive me for those of you who actually know what I'm talking about, but it's a mapping exercise between data and information. And it's done by neural networks. Imagine just a network that gets the data in and maps and says, after many pictures, it's a cat. It sounds like a miracle because it is. That's just a neural network. How does he know that it's a cat? Well, thanks to 50 years of evolutions. So this is important to remember as we go on, because I will keep talking about AI as if it were a family. I will not talk about the individuals in the family, but there are many different things here. So, what is this thing about the divorce? Okay, so it's everywhere, in the kitchen. You don't have to talk to AI anymore with that pretentious English accent that you have acquired badly. Are we really seeing some biological engineering marriage here? I don't think so. I tried to highlight this already a moment ago, but let me just put this with some emphasis and some explanation. So imagine that the world is made of tasks, not true, but imagine for a moment, and every task is close the door or drive the car, fly that particular drone, or buy the cheapest ticket, find the best fridge, etc. Well, wouldn't it be great to have something instead of us doing it for us, better than us? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you read the description of that something that does it instead of us, better than us, in Aristotle, it's a slave. That's what we could do in the past. It was horrible. Luckily, it's not happening around us. But we were using humans as a means to an end. Now we can use technology. Why this divorce? Why sort of pulling apart and saying, look, I want to develop something that is successful. I don't care whether it does it in the same way as I do it. As long as it's successful, that's fine. As opposed to, no, I want to implement human cognition. And if it's not human cognition, I don't care whether it's successful or not, but it has to have a little spark. Now, remember, AI, is it an engineering branch or is it a branch of cognitive science? Well, as a branch of cognitive science, we are at year zero. no step forward. We do not have the intelligence, as I said, of a rat. When it comes to engineering, that looks like magic. That looks like what has happened to humanity. Who has given us so much brain to do what we're doing today? And the old phrase like, is it worth asking whether a submarine can swim? Like, really? Can a computer think? That's the wrong question. That's not the framework within which we should understand what a computer does. A submarine does what it does, an airplane does what it does, and it doesn't do it like a bird, doesn't do it like a fish, but it does it successfully. And that's the whole engineering point here. Success in delivering the output, given that particular input. But how do you know it's not the same process? Well, imagine you have 2, 2, 4, and I tell you one is plus, the other one is multiplication. Which one did I use to get 4 from 2 and 2? I don't know. 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. 2 by 2 is 4. You see, you can't say. So it's the same thing. No, it isn't. The way I do the dishes, the way my dishwasher does the dishes, 2 different things, I hope. Unless you're insane. You go in the kitchen, which, no, we did actually, confession, when I was in the army, and I stop here, we did have some fun there, like, with big sort of soap everywhere. Nobody was watching. And there was a lot of washing to do as well. But no, normally in the kitchen you don't do that. And by not doing that, you actually, and I'm introducing the explanation of the success of an engineering approach to AI, what you do is you build the world around that particular engineer artifact. That, for the mechanical engineer in the room, I know you know, but for anyone else, is called an envelope. An envelope is the 3D space within which a particular artifact engineered is successful, and it looks like this. In the background, there's a huge envelope. It's any car factory you know, and all these robots are successful because they have been successfully enveloped within a space where they can do, at best, what they normally do. And this little thing here, up here, is a human being who is certainly not supposed to be down here. That's not a space for him. If you ever seen one of those pictures of the chef and the cooking, have you seen how really that works? The chef on one side, the robot cooking on the other, and I know we, at least passing time in college, maybe the cooking done by the robot is not so bad. But that space is for the robot, it's not for the human being. Now, by enveloping the world increasingly, we have made our machines increasingly successful. And they will be, because we are moving in that direction. How? Well, lower cost. The usual statistics, the money that it takes to put the man on the moon today, by United, etc. But it really is crashing. We have more computation than we could possibly imagine in a watch anywhere in this room. Again, NASA level in the 60s, stuff like that. More data. The data point is crucial. Depending on whom you're reading, is 90, 95, 98, 99% of the all data we have today has been created by the current generation. And that means also those cows that we painted on those walls such a long time ago. Of course, it's not quality, it's quantity. I'm not talking about Shakespeare or Dante. I'm talking about lots and lots of dogs and cats, yes. But all that massive gazillion zettabytes of data have been generated by us. This generates also problems. It's like sort of baby boom. They're also dying together, and there are real issues here, but maybe for the Q&A. But gazillions of data, of any kind, of any sort. And they're all digital, readable, machine readable. When I mean machine readable, they're barcodes, not meant for our eyes. They're meant for the machines. If you hear anything about the natives in this space are the robots, not us. We scuba dive. But these machines, they are digital elements in the digital environment, reading digital stuff and digital processing, etc. And of course, I show you better machine learning, better algorithms, but also more and more Internet of Things, things connected to other things. And when you go home and you see all those green and blue lights going, they're not for us, they're talking to each other. And a lot of the data we have are generated by those machines. Now, if you speak to anyone in aviation, the amazing amount of data that they generate, an airplane, is staggering, and it's machine to machine. It's not meant for humans. And of course, more on life. Normally, when I send up an article, someone says, oh no, you meant online. No, I meant on life. Meaning this merging of our existence, both analog and digital, both online and offline. And I learned some time ago, I don't know, Phil, if you remember that, but when you gave the lecture for the professorship, you showed us some statistics about what happens to your mobile phone in your pocket and how many times your mobile phone is sending your geolocation, even if you don't know, even if, with a certain number of apps and so on. Are we really ever offline? Of course not. So I'm reminded normally that if you have ever heard the whale singing, if you don't even know what I'm talking about, then you're very, very young. But if you know what I'm talking about, then you have used something called a modem. That is called whale singing. And if you have heard the whale singing, well, you're more like on my side of the divide. So we don't hear the whale singing anymore. No one doesn't even know what we're talking about, because we are constantly on live. And therefore, we're constantly scuba diving. So in this context, remember, we are enveloping the world. We're not so much adapting the technology to the world. No, we're not building robots that drive cars. We're transforming cars and the environment so that they can drive without a driver. I'm not going to see someone, like a robot like this, sitting instead of me and boom, 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 going. That's why we need to change the cars and the environment. So I'll show you two little brief sketches of two ways forward: the engineering and the cognitive science forward. And you can tell that I bet on one, not the other. This is marvelous, and it's not going to go anywhere. This is the robot driving the car instead of me, the same car, using the gears and the wheel. And it works like this. And there's no audio because I want to talk about it. Now, first of all, you had to put the things there. Second, you had to have a room like that in the house, remember? With the price of renting in London. And then you put that little robot there, which is 1.8 meter tall, and it can finally iron the shirt for you. It's a prototype. Now, I'm happy to come back here because I don't do prophecies or that's kind of extrapolation. In 100 years, catch me if you can. No, that's Cambridge for you, by the way. Our Cambridge colleagues normally say, sorry, just under the belt. They like 100 years from now. No, I come back here in 5 years. I'm happy to see whether this has gone anywhere, because I'm betting on this other thing. It does the same work. What's the difference? It's enveloping the environment around the machine, not the other way around. It's not throwing a machine into the environment, doing it as I do it. No, it's transforming ironing as a concept. And this is commercial. I'm told that you might actually get it for Christmas. It's a bit expensive, but no, if anyone there is listening. And it works like that. Look, put it in and spit it out. It's a dishwasher ironing. It's a washing machine ironing. That's, to me, is the future. And there's a lot of intelligence. In fact, you need to be really smart to be able to reorganize the world around the abilities of a machine that is kind of okay, but not so much, and get these kind of things. So now you've got a picture, and I can fast forward because that was the warming up. So, question comes natural. If it is a divorce, are there problems with the divorce? Is this divorce causing some risks, some kind of opportunities as well? As always, the pro and contra, and I'd like to show you 5 sort of areas, and I will be very quick with a few examples. These are 5 areas where we can use this technology for amazing things, but also for awful things. And is entirely, and I mean entirely, up to us. There is no Terminator coming. There is no gods in the sky deciding for us. There's nobody but humanity responsibility for what we're going to do with this technology. And anyone who disagrees, I hope is just naive and doesn't have an agenda. The ethical challenges. A step back, and then we start getting a little bit into the real 5 things. So why are we challenged by all these machines? After all, no, I'm not challenged by the washing machine. So why should I be by an AI? Remember, the family. Well, they do two amazing things. These technologies are large, half of which is done by AI. Since we were scratching those cows on the walls of the cave, we started understanding ourselves, roughly in two ways: who I am and what I can do. I am, humanity speaking, different, exceptional, special because of my nature and because or what I can do compared to anything else. So one is called personal identity, is going to come close to privacy, and the gazillions of data out there are eroding or transforming, exercising pressure on their particular who I am, my nature, my data subject, as we are defined by the European legislation. We're all data subjects here. GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, says so. So if you're a data subject and there's gazillions of data about you somewhere being manipulated, well, certainly your identity is, shall we say, in question. The other half is, remember, not who I am, but what I can do as opposed to anyone else. Well, that's AI. And we define ourselves, at least since Kant onwards, Immanuel Kant, the German philosopher, in terms of autonomy. We are special because we are in control of our actions. We can decide, we can plan, we can choose. Not always rightly. I'll skip any reference to Brexit, but totally impolite here. But certainly in terms of special nature. Well, now we have autonomous agents out there. And if you are trying to identify yourself as we can only be the ones who play chess, well, then we are really in trouble. So here, to summarize, we just went through 4 revolutions in quite a short time. Hundreds of years, really. Copernicus, we're not at the center of the universe. It was so unpleasant when we discovered this, because it was very nice to be at the center of the universe. The party is ours, and we are delighted to know that everything else goes around us. We were shifted, and we retrench in terms of centrality in the animal kingdom. We might not be at the center of the universe, but at least when it comes to this little planet, we are queens and kings. And then Darwin comes and says, I have bad news. I'm afraid, no, the biological kingdom doesn't quite work with you at the center of anything. Freud came third and put the two in line and says, I'm bringing you a third revolution. A bit of self-advertisement, of course, but also a genius talking about other geniuses, and said, well, I'm afraid that we're not even at the center of our mental life. There are corners out there, and I know usually blame on mom, but that are obscure, opaque. So we're not at the center of even our mental life. And the story seemed to be ending there. But actually, if you follow that line of reasoning here, we have a 4th revolution here. Remember, identity, personal identity, autonomy, who I am, what I can do. Well, that's Alan Turing, give to Cambridge what belongs to Cambridge. Counterpart. Yes, we're not at the center of the space of information either. We're not the only ones who can process this data. Mind that all modernity, throughout modernity, some bits of intelligence were described in terms of you can count. No one else can. No animals, no nothing. Really, Hobbes' thinking is reckoning. Well, if you think really that way, well, then we are in trouble, because there's a lot of reckoning going on, calculation going on around here. So human exceptionalism is a big challenge by all this. But I said, I want to present at this point, in this divorce and challenge, some good and bad bits. Now, these are, to put it simply, the good bits. If we use AI properly, then we have a way of enabling human self-realization. We can be more ourselves. We can enhance our agency powerfully, at least because we don't have to clean the dishes, do this, iron, etc., or even drive the car. Imagine all the movies we can watch now. So, increasing societal capabilities. Of course, this is a powerful technology that can put us together, and coordination at this stage is everything, and cultivate societal cohesion. Not exactly what the current President of the United States would like to promote, but I have faith in the following President one day. It also comes with, as I said, the counterpart. You can devalue human skills. You can remove human responsibility. You can reduce human control. Or can you erode human self-determination? Is the other side of the coin. Normally people stop here, but there's a major, major amber point here in this traffic light, which we haven't yet seen, and that's the opportunity cost. When you're not overusing or misusing, but you're not using it at all. And for some of you, I know very well, NHS is a place where the opportunity costs are staggering. Things we could do, we're not doing because we are afraid. And we're not quite sure, and we have missing bits of, for example, ethical legal framework. So what happens if you have a divorce, some challenges, some opportunities, and you want to reconcile, you want to get the green part and drop the amber, drop the red? How do you do that? Regulations. Now let's get together. Let's decide how do we do this. We've been doing this for the past 3 years. For the past 3 years, everybody and his uncle, and probably his grandfather too, has been producing codes of practice, dogs and anything else about framework, guidelines. It's called Ethics of AI, and last time we checked with a colleague back at the OII, Josh Cowles, there were something like 75 list of principles that you could apply to do Ethics of AI. Now remember that God got away with 10. So we should really do better than that. So in this case, the actual point is that we run a bit of a comparison. There's a paper that is forthcoming, and we realized that there was a lot of similarities. Now, most of them really were talking about beneficence, no maleficence, autonomy, justice, and something new, explicability, because these machines, we need to understand what they're doing, either because I'm a customer or because I'm an engineer. As an engineer, because I want to fix it. As a customer, because I want to know why that decision was taken in the first place, like that. So this list, which I hope is unknown to you, because those documents are not really sort of page turners, so to speak, list a lot of those principles, and the last three are the good news. The last three at the bottom, one is the European Commission high-level expert groups. I'm one of the members, and we produced the first international sort of framework, which at least is good for the whole European Union. So anyone wants to do a bit of what is the ethics of AI here? Well, you just have to adopt those principles. No shopping around anymore. Immediately afterwards, the OECD, inspired by the work done by the European Commission, adopted pretty much the same outline. And Beijing AI principles are also moving in the same direction. So we are looking at, remember, first articles, 1960, but half a century later or more, we're looking at some kind of consensus finally sort of coalescing around a group of principles, and that is chapter 1. But what about chapter 2? Okay, once you have the principles, once you have the what, the next question for any engineer I interact with is, okay, fine, good, great philosophy, thank you so much, but how? How do I implement this? How do I go next time in my office and start working from the big principle, blue sky, great ideas, to that product design? Well, that is where I want to get closer in the rest of this presentation. And I want to do that still a philosophy talking, not an engineer, so I won't give you something too specific, but directions of traveling, and I have 5. So remember, these are challenges, but also opportunities. We could make AI work against wrongdoing. We published recently with other colleagues from the OII a paper on a review looking at misuses by organized crime of AI. And remember that, for example, identity theft, which is still something you do by hand more or less today, is going to be a fantastic place where to apply some AI. Money laundering, oh wonderful, I mean AI can do that so much better than any human being. So there are risks there, but also we need to change our view about vulnerability. And here I like to highlight one aspect that normally I don't see highlighted enough. In the best scenarios, these AI technologies are, as you know, relentless, gentler, 24/7, they're never tired, and they're always pushing, nudging, today, tomorrow, the day after. So John or Mary, born today, fast forward 18 years, and John or Mary have been living for 18 years, being gently nudge every day. You like this, you may like that. Have you watched the next thing? Oh, How about this book, since you love that? This holiday, the other holiday, this t-shirt, maybe the racket. No, see, racket. It's not super dangerous, but the rock who thought that their little drop of water was nothing, 18 years later has a big hole in it, because drop after drop after drop, the drop will shape the stone, will shape the rock. So we need to be a little bit more careful about how we expose, for example, children to this gentle, nice, no conspiracy, no nothing, no idea that they can tell us what to do. Make AI enhance human decision control. This is crucial. We, for example, in London, moving fast towards very complex, and I'm talking complexity not as very difficult, no, in the computational complexity sense, environments. These are just data, quite uncontroversial, or where the rest of humanity will live, apart from a few people in the countryside. Roughly 6 billion, just about 70% of humanity will live in big cities. And I'm talking London, Sao Paulo, kind of big. Tens of millions of people living there. Just collecting garbage, it's staggering. AI there will be essential. So anyone who has ever attended one conference about smart cities, AI is the bread and butter. You don't even start talking about smart city without AI being the muscle behind anything you want to do. Responsibility, this is crucial. We don't want to erode responsibility, we want to increase, expand responsibility, especially in a case where we have a whole planet to save. So any young generation thinks, oh, what's left to do in this planet? No, we have discovered every single island. Well, we have a planet to save. That's a big mission. We need, for that kind of level of challenge, we need, again, the muscle to tackle that challenge. This is not something that you and I can solve individually. And this is a lot of coordination. The car out there that is not working, if I go and push, it will be useless. And if each of us goes there and push one after the other, it will be totally useless. The real point here is that we need to coordinate, and AI is on our side if we use it properly. For this, we need a bit of a marriage. So as much as AI is a divorce, the marriage here has to be between the green and the blue of digital technologies, AI above all, and the green of ecological strategies. There's an economy here that takes the best of capitalism, drops consumerism, and transforms capitalism into a green and blue engine for this planet and for humanity on it. And I don't want to go to Mars, to find a second planet just in case. This is the only one we have. Number 4, it has to work for humanity. Work? Oh my goodness, I thought they were taking away jobs. Isn't that the story? That's the story. The story. The work here, and you find plenty of statistics, it goes like this. How many tens of millions does it take for an AI to access? So how many tens of millions AI will remove from the job market? Anyone has a particular guess. This is on the left. Up to 30, down 10, at least 10, come on. And down here, when is going to happen? Oh, by the way, there are people talking about 36. That's, 17 years from now? Imagine someone in 1915 predicting 16 years later what would have happened. So how exactly this works, I'm not so sure. But I'm a bit suspicious that it might be common sense. For example, driverless cars, cab driver. That's it. That job is gone. Surely. Driverless cars come, the taxi driver, that's his job, kaput, that's it. Goodbye. Really? I'm not so sure. These are statistics, these are data, contrary to projections. This is from the American Trucking Association report. It's the last analysis we have from 2015, and this is the job market in terms of how many truck drivers are missing in terms of jobs in the States. Mind that this down here is 2017, 18, 19. By the time we go to 2022, which is 3 years away, there will be something like 239,000 truck drivers missing. Why? Because, of course, things move on wheels in America, etc. And because someone told them, driverless cars, there's no job in the truck industry. Oh, by the way, a truck driver in the United States earns roughly like an associate professor, just in case. So it's a decent profession. I check, just in case someone don't get any ideas. I want my job. So I'm not going to not drive any truck. This is what's happening. This is the real world. This is Lloyd going digital. It sends 6,240 people home and hire in one go 8,240. So, oh, fantastic. Well, then we swing on the other side. Such a rosy picture. They're so wonderful. Not at all. Because I'm not sure are the same people. And that is the problem. That those 6,000 plus going home are the ones that will not be on board. There's a generation gap here. Someone will pay the price. So it might be quite a nice future that we're building if we get things right. If we get things right. But apart from the if, the transition from here to there, that will be paid by this generation. Surely we want to borrow a little bit from the future. There are other things that you don't mention in a lecture like taxation, things like that. But something has to be done for all these people who will pay the price for the transition. It should make us more human. And here, I'm going back to autonomy. Surely we want to have a technology that makes us more capable of deciding what we want or prefer what we really have in front of us. And I'm a bit worried that here, human nature, we philosophers, we know something about human nature, will kick in. We're lazy. We're also very malleable. And we are easily convinced to do this or that. So we need to be a little bit more careful exposing this very fragile, malleable entity to a very robust, quite silly, very efficient, very successful technology that will probably tend to inadvertently change the nature of that fragile entity. This is something that I would like to be a little bit more concerned about, not Terminator. So, I promise to be brief, and we're almost there. 4 more minutes and we're done. Conclusion. What do we do about this? So, there's lots going on. There's a big problem here, which is a divorce, which is fantastic, which enables us to do gazillions of things, but these gazillions things are done stupidly. I would sleep more soundly if I knew that my iPhone there is intelligent. It's because my thermostat, and this is from home, and I won't say what kind of thermostat, but you can guess, seems to be nasty to do this on video, it's because my thermostat is an idiot, that I don't sleep completely safely, and because it might actually turn off at the wrong time, not knowing that I'm actually home, and despite all the connection with geotagging, etc. Yeah, it doesn't work that well. So can we trust all this? I think the real question is, can we trust us in building the right technology? Then we can trust. So here, it's about design, and it's about governance. So until recently, you would go to these wonderful techie conferences, and it was all about technology innovation. The average politician salivates immediately as soon as you talk about innovation, because innovation is growth, growth is money, money is jobs, and people are happy. So innovation, innovation, innovation. Yeah, absolutely. And it's crucial. But it's not a real challenge. I don't think that that's the most difficult challenge we are facing now. Not because it's easy, but because something more difficult to do behind innovation. And that's called governance of the digital. By the way, I'm not like in the 60s, I'm a bit younger than that, but I've been saying this for a while. And people say, yeah, whatever that was. What's the startup that I need to buy? Now look, buy any startup you want, but what are you going to do with it? It's the real challenge. So Cambridge Analytica? No. What are you doing with that is the real problem. Then buy whatever you want, whatever gazillions things, or invent the next techie. But if there's divorce, opportunities, risks, the challenge therefore is how you govern all this. But governance is a matter of design. Designing the right policies so that the incentives and the disincentives are in the right place. There are no loopholes. People tend to do more the right thing than the bad thing. So all of a sudden we are shifting all this into socio-political issues. It's a matter of design. Design the kind of society we want. Remember, what's the human project here that we want to implement? That's the big picture I would like to hear from the big guys, they're not really guys, but also big girls out there. And here, Therefore, it is a matter, and this is the last slide, promise, and then we have some Q&A. Our age is the digital age, but above all is the age of design. Or what other age could it be? Well, remember, innovation comes in 3 flavors. It's like a stool on 3 legs, basically. You can either discover something, America, that's a big innovation, or invent fire, or the wheel, and that's a big innovation, or you can design. And every innovation we ever had stands on these 3 legs. A bit of discovery, a bit of design, a bit of invention. But every age has leaned more on one leg than another. That's why we talk about the age of discoveries, the age of invention. And today, our age, if anything, is the age of design. We have so many opportunities of combining and recombining what we are constantly inventing and design and creating, that clearly that is the added value. So you don't have to be a genius to read in the back of that gadget there, made in China, design in California, and that's what that really matters. Calvin Klein, anyone? I don't even know where they're made, but it's Calvin Klein. So because design is the question, then the governance becomes a matter of design of the governance. And all I'm saying, basically the only message for these 40 minutes of lecture is we should do good design. That's all there is. That's why engineering is so important. Thank you.